Okay.
Come. No.
This is what I
Now your place is this. You're welcome. Nothing serious.
No questions.
No.
But if I want to see class, there's no chance that you have to question.
They will come.
Let's do it together. Bring your chair.
Oh, your pod is actually working. Is it that it's not using it? You don't have to connect it.
I connected it to Osoro.
Yeah, go away.
Did you charge it?
Not do it. What's up, grandma?
This is 100.
I don't even know, sir. It's tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Happy Sunday. Welcome to class. So I will be taking the week 3 and week 4 sessions for the public speaking class, which means we will be rounding off the public speaking course next week, Sunday. So I will be walking you through that from today until next week. So before I start my session this evening, I would love to read or listen, hear from you what you have learned so far from TMTI's session. So if you'd like to share with me, do a summary, or you could just share what stood out for you. One thing that stood out from you from everything TMTI has taught you. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. Otherwise, you can leave a message in the chat. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. Use the reaction key to raise your hand. Or you can leave a message in the chat. Anyone? Okay, I have few charts. Please confirm if you can hear me. I can't see any reaction. Please confirm if you can hear me. Please confirm if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you, Deborah. So my question was, give me a pointer or share with me what stood out from TMTI's session, TM Tosin session. Is there anything that stood out for you? Is there any new thing you have learned? Is there something you have started practicing from what he has taught you? Have you got any results? Or do you feel better generally about public speaking? I'd love to read your feedback. Or you can ask to unmute yourself. Raise your hand and I would unmute you. Okay, Tony, good evening. Please unmute. Please unmute your microphone, Tony. Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
How was your day?
Very stressful. I almost postponed this class. By 12.
Why? Why?
Oh, motherhood. I'm new to motherhood, so my baby is today is not been nice.
Yeah. All right. Because you are new to the business, very soon you will get used to it.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
All right. You're welcome, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. So please share with me something that stood out for you or something you've learned during the TI session, or perhaps feedback about something you've tried that you shared and what you got, the result you got.
Ability to have confidence in yourself.
Important, yes. Have confidence in yourself.
Yes. So while facing the audience, so you need to take a bold step while facing them. And again, the topic that we should outline, the topic that we want to discuss.
Yes. Thank you very much, Madam Toyin.
All right, welcome.
Be bold. The truth.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
My second assignment.
Okay.
I've submitted it on Saturday, yesterday, but I haven't gotten any feedback on it.
Okay, you would get feedback. All the assignments have been sent to me as a file. It's just for me to copy and paste them in the group. I did some earlier this evening. I will complete others as soon as we end the session, God willing.
All right.
So you
Thank
get
you,
feedback
ma'am.
very soon. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you much, ma'am. Yes.
You're welcome, ma'am. So you're right. Yes. Confidence, very important. That's one of the things I will be dealing with. The two things, my two goals in the next two sessions is how to help you build confidence. And secondly is how to use your voice. TM Tosin has taught you about your content and of course how to make sure that you're not refusing to take up opportunities when it comes to public speaking because of stage fright. I remember him saying that every great speaker out there experienced stage fright. That is the truth. The high and mighty public speakers. Let's start with your pastors or your afars. They are public speakers. Let's start with your favorite presenter on TV or newscaster or even on the radio. They are public speakers. For some of us, years ago, whenever I go to Korodu, I live in Lagos. When I go to Korodu from Badagry, I was still with my parents. My parents stays in Badagry. I would always use buses where you would have one or two persons on the bus selling medicine or selling balm. They just have one item or another to sell on buses. We call them marketers. That is the general name we call them in Nigeria. They are public speakers as well. All of these people, to the high and mighties, to the world's most impactful and relatable communicators like Steve Jobs, Donald Trump, Martin Luther King, among others, they always experience stage fright. They always have something that asks them again, are you sure you're ready for this? There's always that rumbling in their stomach. And the truth is, they don't often eliminate this nervousness. Rather, they channel it. Sometimes they even embrace it as a source of energy and authenticity. And that is what I do. I have been on lots of public speaking platforms, from TV appointments to radio to teaching. I've taught the last physical class I had in Lagos. We had about 200 people. The last one in Port Harcourt, roughly 200 as well. I have been invited as guest speakers to conventions where there are 1,000, 2,000 people in the audience. I have held panel sessions with over 3,000 people. For each of this event, I would always feel that stage fright. You will feel nervous. It's normal. It is just normal. It is why you are human. And like you said, we feel it for different reasons. Whatever reason it is, build confidence. Do not let that hold you back. You can either channel it or you embrace it and turn it from negativity to positivity. So I love that you got that. And the truth is, that is one of the pointers that helped me while I was growing. I'm still growing while I started paying attention to my public speaking skills. You also mentioned outlining. Yes, outlining is key. In fact, if you can write out your speech or whatever it is you want to do, beautiful. That is the essence of having presentations like this. If you have not identified what you want to teach or what you want to speak about, and you have not outlined it, it's difficult for you to come up with a presentation slide. It's also difficult for you to even know what you want to say. Your speech it will lack structure. So outline. Though I love mind mapping, I do a lot of mind mapping instead of outlining. But then outline, at least that is the basic step. And you also mentioned, what was the third thing you mentioned? You mentioned three things. They are all correct. Yes, you mentioned all of them. I am glad that you're learning. Is there any other person? Okay, Deborah, please unmute. So after Deborah, I'll call on Antonia and then we kickstart. Deborah, please unmute. Good evening. Deborah, are you there? Oh, Antonia, please unmute. I can't see Deborah again.
I'm there, ma. Good evening, ma.
Okay, good evening, Deborah. So please tell me
Yes.
what stood out for you from the two sessions you've had. Is there anything you've tried? Has it worked? Are you changing your
Yes, ma.
mindset about already? So let's hear from you, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. He said we should know what we want to speak about.
Very important. Your content.
Okay. Yes. And we should reframe our mindsets. We should see public speaking as opportunity.
That is what it is. That is what public speaking is. It's an opportunity. It's not a dead trap like people feel. A lot of people would rather jump, have the ground open and jump into it than speak in public. You know what you're doing to yourself? You're sabotaging yourself. You're not helping yourself. Sabotaging yourself is like hurting yourself. That's the simplest way to explain it. Public speaking is an opportunity to let people know what you carry. If you don't show what you carry to the world, they would not know. Let's assume you've not attended my class before. Or let's even assume you didn't attend that 1,000 naira class. I just come up to you. Some of you have paid me as high as 300,000, 450,000. And I just come up to you and I tell you to pay me 450,000. Would you? You would be skeptical because you do not know what I carry. So online engagements as such is public speaking as well. It's an opportunity to let the world know what you are, what you carry, who you are. There was a time in my life I used to volunteer. I volunteered for lots of people. I can remember YALI. For some of you that knows YALI, Young Africa Leader Initiative. I do MCs for them a lot. About 2-3 years ago, I volunteered for different events. I would just see a flyer on LinkedIn, and when I look through the speakers and I feel like, okay, this event is going to be grounded, you see me write the host to volunteer as MCs or as panelists without collecting money. Why? I'm showcasing what I have. I volunteered for local governments. I volunteered for award events, birthday parties. If I were a Christian, I'm sure I would volunteer to perhaps teach in Sunday school. I know you used to have children class and adult class, or maybe even help the speaker translate, volunteer a lot. That way you're taking smaller steps, you're building yourself so that when you get the bigger platform, it's easier for you to show them what you carry. So public speaking, yes, it is an opportunity. See it as that. See it as an opportunity to show the world who you are. And the best way to do that is to practice, prepare. Confidence is built in the place of practice. Again, confidence is built in the place of practice. If you do not practice, T.M. Tosin said, if you do not prepare, I can't remember the words he used. If you do not prepare in private, you would bleed in public. I can't remember the exact words he used. It was a quote by someone, but I can't remember. That's why I would always say in addiction classes that addiction is like prayer, same with public speaking. In your own corner, you practice, you pray. When you get answers to your prayer, the whole world will see it. It's just like my son. You know how long I've been praying for it? And now the whole world is celebrating with me. Even those that do not know me, have just seen me online. Still with public speaking. What you see me do today, I've been practicing for over 7 years. From little place, schools, church, local government, and now I can speak on national platforms, international platforms, global platforms. That's the next goal. But if I didn't start from local platforms, it becomes difficult. I won't think of global platform because the fear will still be there. So confidence is built in the place of practice. Be prepared. Read a lot. When you don't have context, public speaking is divided into two key parts: content and delivery. Content is what you want to say. If you don't have anything to say, how do you want to say it? So you need content. And not every time will people give you a topic to talk about around things that you know very well. Sometimes they just want to give you other things. I can remember when I was still working with schools actively, just because you speak so well, they believe you're so intelligent. So you can just get to school one day and they just give you a random topic that you've never thought about, somebody you've never heard about it, to talk about. Or maybe when you belong to some groups where you do impromptu speeches, like Toastmasters, we do a lot of impromptu speeches. I love that part. I would always ask to participate because it gives you the opportunity to think on your feet. But if you've not read about that thing before, if you've not heard about it, if you don't know anything about it, how do you even want to think on your feet? So read a lot, watch movies. If you're the type that do not like reading, I love reading naturally. If you don't like reading, you might want to leverage listening to audiobooks. I love reading, but since I got pregnant, I've not really had time to read. So what I do is I listen to audiobook. Instead of using Audiomack, using Boomplay, go for Spotify. There are lots of audiobooks you can listen to there. There's also this platform I use, the 20 minutes book. Any book in this world, they would summarize it into 20 minutes. So if there are books that you've always wanted to read and maybe your schedule will not allow you or because you do not like it, you listen to it just with your headset. When you're in traffic, when you're cooking, when you're doing house chores, even at work, you can listen. Read a lot, listen to audiobooks, watch movies. If that is how you learn, we learn from movies as well. Just go for movies that you want to learn from, not just for entertainment reasons. So you want to be educated and be entertained at the same time. Listen to music, watch podcasts, listen to podcasts rather, watch YouTube videos. These things, the information you keep soaking. We are like sponge, just like the sponge we bathe with. We soak information. So when you're always reading, when you're always somewhere where you're learning, the day you would need that information, it would be readily available for you. One more person, Antonia, and we kickstart. Antonia, good evening. Please unmute. Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. So go ahead, share with me what you've learned, anything that stood out for you.
Okay, I learned them.
Okay.
The benefit of public speaking.
So what are the benefits of public speaking? Just mention one.
Sorry, the benefit of storytelling, rather.
Okay, storytelling. Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
It
so now
builds-
that you know the benefits of storytelling, would you start to incorporate stories into your speeches, your teaching, your communication?
Yes, yes.
Very well.
It builds
And you also
empathy.
taught, what did you say, ma'am?
It builds empathy.
It
builds
builds empathy. Exactly. I was also going to mention the part where he taught you how to build your stories. There was a time in my life years ago, I attended a class about how to write content online that people want to read. And one of the things we were taught was storytelling. Storytelling is not just around public speaking, it's about everything in the word. Storytelling works with everything in the word. So we had a session on storytelling. And then I asked our teacher then, how do you even know stories to tell? Sometimes you don't have stories. And he said, everything that happens around you, that happened, that is happening, and that you lack stories because you are not paying attention to the things happening around you. Everything around you can be turned into stories, except for some things that you're not comfortable sharing in public. Yes, you do not have to share everything about your life. If you're not comfortable sharing particular things, yes, leave them out. That is allowed. But if you're struggling with What should I even talk about? Somebody asked a question in the storytelling class that what if you're giving an impromptu speech? How do you quickly know the story to talk about? Remember, every story has a point. So the first thing is, what is the point? What am I trying to educate them on or inform them on or persuade them on? What is the end goal? And then somebody gave the topic justice. So let's assume you're trying to talk about justice. Would you say in your life you've never seen someone that has encountered injustice? Let's assume you haven't. You might have seen someone, you might have watched a movie, you might have read a book, somebody might have shared a story with you. You can infuse that. And like they said, it doesn't have to always be your story. You can use other people's stories. However, I love personal stories because it gives a personal touch. It lets people, the people listening to you, it gives them the idea that you're human like them. You're not any better. It also shows that you're qualified to speak around certain topics. So left to me, I love personal stories. However, if you're not comfortable sharing your personal stories, go for fictional stories, go for other people's stories, etc. Very well. So thank you, everyone, for sharing with me one or two things that you've learned. But remember, like I always say, it's not just about learning them, it's about practicing them, because the goal here is for you to get transformed after this 4 weeks. In the coming weeks, the lessons will become more intense. Now that it's my session, I would always give you tips in the group every day on what to do and what not to do. Please, when it is time to practice, practice. That is really important. Practice. If you don't practice, you will not get results. If you don't practice, after the 4 weeks, you will still not be able to present in public. So practice. If you're a Christian, volunteer in your church. If you belong to certain groups, volunteer. Join clubs like Toastmasters. You can access Toastmasters from any part of the world. Any part of the world at all. You can attend online classes, you can attend physical classes. It depends on which you're available for. Toastmasters, I can tell you, is worth every dime, is worth the effort, is worth the money. That's the truth. Now let's get to why we're here today. So tonight, my objective is to turn you into that public speaker, who is ready to command attention in any room at all. Any room you find yourself, whether in the boardroom or on a TV station, in a TV station, radio station, anywhere at all, amongst friends. Whether you're a teacher, some teachers cannot facilitate assembly. I attended a government school, and when I gained admission into senior secondary, we had SS1A until SS1F. So A, B, C, they were science classes. D, E, F were commercial classes. And then we had the art department, which is F. And then we had a particular teacher then, a man. I can't remember his name. But then he was our Arabic teacher. I've never seen him on the assembly throughout my 6 years. Few months ago, I'm in the alumni group, of course. So we got talking. We saw a post on Facebook that one of our teacher, of course, one of those, should I say, I don't want to use the word wicked, disciplined. Let me use that word. Disciplined teacher. So we saw a post on Facebook that is deceased. So everyone started sending their condolences, and that sparked conversation about our teachers. And somebody raised that. And we got talking, and somebody said that I'm very sure that the reason why that man is not always on the assembly and has never facilitated the assembly is because he's scared of speaking in public. So people started sharing their encounter, their experience with him, even in the classroom, how he fidgets and all. And someone also mentioned a copper that they had then in the commercial department that also had that stage fright. So it was both a memorable one during that conversation, and aside that, it was a call to action for me that people are really watching. So there's some teachers out there that they cannot facilitate assembly. So imagine a school where in my class then I was in B, SS1B. I think we were about 63 in my class. Let's assume we had 63 in all the, it's a 6 classes now. And that is just SS1. We still have SS2, we have SS3, we have JS1 to JS3 as well. Imagine the crowd. See public speaking as an opportunity. But of course, if you don't have what it takes, it becomes a problem. So tonight we will be learning the things you need to put into consideration to help you start to command attention in any room you find yourself. There's something called the attention crisis. We all know what a crisis is, right? What crisis is. Now look at my picture. Look at the goldfish there. Who knows the attention span of a goldfish? Anyone? It is said that as humans, we have just 8 seconds, to impress someone, to let someone know that, yes, I'm worth listening to. I'm not just here to waste your time, but I am worth listening to. And do you also know that first impression is usually formed in 0.1 seconds? When people see you in 0.1 seconds, they can come up with an impression, a perception of who you are. Which is why when they see you, the first thing they want to look at is what you're wearing, how you look from head to toe. And the next thing is what comes out of your mouth. So if you have just 8 seconds to tell someone that I am worth listening to or I am not worth listening to, don't you think every second counts? From the moment you appear on the stage or in front of your audience until you're done. I said in the last session, 93% of communication impact comes from how you say what you say. It's not really your words. Your words takes just 7%. But the 93% comes from how you say what you have to say, how you use your words, the how. So if you have just 8 seconds, not minutes, seconds, to tell your audience that I'm worth listening to, why should you then get on the stage and start saying, good morning, everyone, good evening, good afternoon? It depends on the time you're watching me from. I've seen some of your videos. A lot of us, we did the greeting thing at the beginning. What was your objective? You feel like, okay, the video is for Diction Queen. I'm familiar with her, so I need to be respectful. If that is it, no. Public speaking is different. Except it's a formal event where you have to give accolades to whom accolades are due, where you have to go through protocols, where you have to go, ladies and gentlemen, blah, 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 blah. If it's not, please get straight to your point. Go straight to the point. Give them reasons to see that you are worth listening to. But do you even know that being able to command a room when it comes to public speaking does not happen or does not start when you open your mouth? It starts from when you're coming into the room. So this evening, I will be sharing with you my powerful framework that I used, that I always use, let me use that word, I always use anytime I have public speaking events, whether online or physical. And that powerful framework is what I tag the power framework. The power framework. Each letter in the word power has its meaning. The P stands for presence. People start to get perception of you. They start to debate in their mind. Should I listen to her or not? Especially when you attend TEDx event. Have you ever attended TEDx event? Has anyone attended TEDx event in this room? If you have, please let me know in the chat. If you've attended any TEDx event in this room, let me know in the chat. A TEDx event where you would have like 15 speakers in one day. You know how boring that can be. Or events where you have like 10, 12 speakers in about 8 hours or in less than 8 hours. People, and then you would now come and just talk anyhow, and you think people will listen to you? They would cut off immediately. People have a lot of things in their head, a lot of reasons to not even want to listen to you. And if you're not giving them reasons not to listen to you, then your bad people will say, "Oh, tijeton." It means you don't eat and finish. Excuse me, I said no pigeon. See me speaking pigeon. Lami, thank you. I love attending TEDx events. I've not attended any TEDx event in 1 year now. The last one I attended was TEDx Lagos. That was on the island, Marina. I love attending TEDx event. I would travel from Lagos then to Ibadan, Ijesha because of TEDx event. I love them. And TEDx event can be boring because you can have about 15 speakers in one day. The one is coming, the other is going. So you have reasons to get tired of them and not want to listen to them again. So the P there stands for presence. I can tell you, someone would decide to listen to you or not decide to listen to you the moment you're coming on stage. So this evening, we're going to practice the right way to walk on stage and own the stage. Have you ever asked yourself, why am I given the opportunity to speak? It is because they know you can. Do you also know that your audience wants you to win during public speaking? A lot of time we feel like our audience are there to mock us. No, a lot of them want you to win. Though there are some of them that while you're speaking, you see them change their face, start pressing their phones, etc. To some people, it's an unconscious action. Why to others, it might be because they're not enjoying your speech. It's feedback. Now, the O there stands for opening. That takes me back to when I said, please stop greeting, except it's necessary. If it's not necessary, go straight to the point. Start with something that would hook your audience, that would hook them immediately and they want to listen to you. The W stands for wow factor. Give them something unexpected. So let's assume you went to an event where 1 or 2 people have spoken before you. You want to do something different, That happens a lot when I go for training sessions. When I'm invited to come train along other trainers. I remember a particular diction instructor who invited me to train with 2 other diction instructors. With her, that was 3. With myself, we were 4. Somewhere in, I think it was Abule Egba in Lagos then. That should be in 2019. We got there. I planned to be the first speaker, though I didn't ask questions. But somehow in my head, I wanted to be the first speaker. I got there. The first speaker started. The second speaker started. The second speaker sounded Indian. He started. The first speaker was a woman. The second speaker was a man. And then it was my turn. And in my mind, what can I do differently? I don't know, many times when I speak on platforms, I'm always like the last. I think people usually intentionally do that. I think they intentionally do that. Because if you're not strong in terms of public speaking, it becomes difficult for you to speak when other powerful speakers have spoken. You see people say things like, there's nothing else to say. All the other speakers have said it all. Please don't do that. If you're doing that, you're shooting yourself in the leg. Why would you tell them there's nothing else to say? Even when there seems not to be nothing to say, there's always something to say. There's always something to be said. So don't tell people, there's really nothing to be said. The first and the second speaker, they have said it all. That is already a write-off. Never do that. Instead, ask yourself, what can I do differently? What can I do differently? So let's assume you went for a training session to train a group of women or to speak to students about a topic, maybe about how to care for themselves. And you've had other speakers ahead of you. You've had other instructors ahead of you. Now, while everyone was teaching, let's assume the participants were all sitting. When you get on stage, why not ask them to stand and do some sort of exercise? Have them dance. That was the first thing I did that day. It was a training for diction, so obviously a lot of them were teachers. So immediately I got on stage, my first question were, if you're a nursery teacher, please proudly raise your hand. I am one and I am so glad I am. And everybody raised their hands. They didn't know what I wanted them to do. And I moved close to one of them. I held her hand, moved her forward, and I said, I need you to give me a nursery rhyme, one of those rhymes that you always use to jar up your learners. And she did. And we all got dancing for a few minutes. We were happy. They had to release all the energy. Imagine you've been sitting for 3 hours, 2 hours. The atmosphere changed. And while she was singing, I was giving them some funny dance step. So the moment we were done with that, we started with my dance step. What do you think? If you were in that audience, how will you feel? If you'd like to talk, please raise your hand. I would unmute the microphone. Please, one of the ground rules, speak appropriate diction. If you were in that audience, how would you feel? Vivian, good evening. Please unmute.
Good evening, ma'am.
How are you today?
I'm good, ma'am.
Okay, so how would you feel?
If I'm singing, I will feel energetic and be willing to
Beautiful.
listen.
Thank you very much. Is there any other person that has a different opinion? She said she would feel energetic and be ready, willing to listen to me. So ask yourself, what can I do differently? It depends on the environment. It depends on the event. There's some events where you cannot try that, right? So just ask that question. What can I do differently? And do that. Do that differently. Give a wow factor, something no one is expecting. The E in my framework stands for eye contact. You're expected to connect with every person. Remember when we were in primary school, then our teachers would ask us to look over people's head. That is a wrong tactic. Or they ask you to look at the ceiling. The people you're talking to, are they in the ceiling? Imagine you're talking to your husband and you're not looking at him. How would he feel? Disrespected, I believe. Or you're talking to your students, you're not looking at them, or you're using a kind of dark shade glasses. Would you connect with them? No. So maintain eye contact and leverage your body. There's a reason why we have our body. Leverage it. Don't be that Steve speaker that would stay in a particular spot all through your presentation. I don't know if you can still see me. Do not stay in a particular spot all through your presentation. Also, do not pace. We see a lot of speaker pacing. Good day, everyone. My name is Diction Queen. Today, we'll be talking about, no, that's wrong. Use your space purposefully. We'll get to that. And the R in my framework, excuse me, stands for rhythm. Learn how to control your pace. Learn how to control the flow using vocal varieties, using pauses. Avoid E to C. So let's take each of this letter in my framework, one after the other, expatiating them, and then we'll get practical. So like I said, the P stands for presence. You need to own your space before you even speak, before you start speaking at all. Own your space. How? Work to the stage with purpose. Work to the stage like a CEO. There's something called the CEO entrance. When a CEO is working into that boardroom or even into the office, there's a way they carry themselves. Even though you're not a CEO yet, please start practicing it. You have no excuse. You have no reason to say, but I'm not a CEO. So what happens when you eventually become one? Work into that room or work to that stage as a leader. How do you do that? Stand tall. Make sure your shoulders are back. Make your feet shoulder width apart. So what do I mean? How do we do this? Sorry, my space is not wide. So that's why I need to keep doing a lot of moving. So I don't know if you can see me properly. So this is my shoulder width. So my shoulder width is this size. My legs should be at the same position where my shoulders are. So I should not expand my legs wider than my shoulder. That way, it helps you to stand tall. Now you want to throw your shoulder to the back like this, not like this, like this. Be in a relaxed position. That helps you to have your chest out, and then it gives you a nice posture. As a woman, we do not expect your hands, or even as a man, we do not expect your hands to be everywhere. As a woman, your hands can be by your side. It can be like this in front of you. A lot of people do this. You collapse your hand. Please, I hope you can see me clearly. Please let me know if you can see me clearly first before I continue with my description. If you can see me clearly, please let me know in the chat. If the lightning is well positioned, please let me know in the chat. If my lightning is well positioned, please let me know in the chat. Yes, ma'am, I have. Okay, no, that's not the feedback. We were told to look at the audience forehead then, yes. We're told to look at their forehead or look over their head. Okay, yes, ma'am, yes, I am seeing you clearly. Okay, thank you. So let's proceed. So, make sure that your hands, they are not like this. A lot of people do like this. You hear them say like, today, we'll be talking about, don't do that. So as a woman, your hands can be like this. Can you see it? Placed on each other. In front of you, it can be behind you, and it can be beside you. So when it's time to use your hand, you can easily bring them forward. Take them wherever, to any position that you need. As a man, working on your stage as well, your hands should be beside you. But as a woman, you're allowed to have them perhaps like this, behind you or in front of you. And walk majestically. I see a lot of public speakers. When they call them, and our next speaker is the diction queen, you see them running to the stage. Why? Are you not worth waiting for? You are. It's your time. Please shine. Walk majestically to the stage. That also takes us down to wearing something you're comfortable with. Wear something you're proud of. Because another thing that makes people lack confidence is when they're not comfortable in their own self. If you need to wear heels, go for it. For me, I am always comfortable in my sneakers. My sister would say jokingly years ago that on your wedding day, you're going to wear a sneaker. And that was what I did. On my wedding day, I wore a sneaker to a white gown, on a white gown. Even on the introduction day, I wore a sneaker. Because I'm really comfortable in my sneakers. I love it. It gives me that bouncy I get to bounce. I'm a lover of sneakers. There's no amount I can use to buy a pair of sneakers. So wear something you're comfortable with. If you're okay with trousers, gown, just look confident because it starts from your look. Then you can majestically move to the stage. Now, when you get on the stage, do not be in a hurry to start. Remember, let your light shine. So this is it. Let's assume I'm coming in from here. So I'm going to go through that. Start majestically. When I get on my stage, now your stage would have the middle stage, the left stage, the right stage, the front and the back. It's just like you having enough space. That space in your head, you want to divide it to somewhere where it's the center. You want to go right to the center. That is the first place you should stay. Except you have a stage where there is a lectern. I hope you know what a lectern is. That thing that pastors would stand on or stand behind when it is time to preach. Except you have that. If you don't have a lectern, if it's an open space, in your head, divide the space into the center, the left, the right, then the front and the back. So once you're coming on stage, go to the center. That is the reason why they say come early, get there early, get used to the environment. So go to the center, stand there for a few seconds. Smile at the audience. Divide the audience into 3 as well. Left, right, center. Anyone you're comfortable with. Maintain eye contact with them in few seconds and smile. You know what that does? It gives your audience that feeling that the boss is here. You're rushing to start your presentation. Tell them that you're shy. It could also tell them that you're not comfortable. It could tell them that you don't even know what you're doing. But you remember, you're there to show them, to shine your light, to own the space, to give them reasons to listen to you. Do not be in a hurry to start. What happens if you want to give accolades to the MC? So let's assume somebody says, the next speaker is the diction queen. I get on the stage and I thank so kindly, MC. I'm going to lock eye contact with the MC. Thanks so kindly, MC, or whatever way I want to qualify him. And then I back to my audience, take a pause, scan through the room, lock eye contact with few people, smile, and then start. That takes us to the next one, which opening. Let me say 1 or 2 things about this. Please see yourself as a CEO. Work to your position with purpose. No rushing, no shuffling. There's nothing like, I'm sorry, I was behind. I couldn't get space to come out. You're worth it. That's why they're giving you that spotlight. Stand tall. Take up your space confidently. You belong there. It's your time to shine. Look at your audience. When you get on the stage, pause. Take a few seconds, look at them, smile. Very important. They'll naturally smile back at you. Lock eye contact with them. And until then, if you have not done that, saying that life itself works on the frequency. Have you heard that? The energy you bring forth is the energy you would get. If you get somewhere and to work somewhere, and your first day at work, You were not smiling. You didn't even greet us, and you started. So already conversant with the environment to come saying, oh, hi, welcome to the office. No, you have to show them first that you're approachable. You have. That's one of the things I tell my staff. When we start working with a new school, some of them will say things like their teachers are not friendly. I tell them, their teachers are not friendly because you're not friendly. That's the truth. You do not expect a teacher who has been working with a school to approach you first in a friendly environment. What happens to you smiling? What happens to you introducing yourself to them? What happens to you declaring and telling them that I need help? I hope I'm welcomed here. What happens to all of those first gestures? Same with public speaking. Your energy determines your audience energy. So there's some of the videos that when I watch them, you were talking like you're already tired. My name is... Energy is different from pace. Imagine every time we have webinars, I would just be talking like I'm tired. Today, we will be learning the air sound. Everybody say air. Air as in egg. Air as in elephant. Would you be happy to attend the next class? I'm asking a question. Let me see your feedback in the chat. Would you be attend next class? If I'm always coming to class with negative energy. Somebody said, please, ma'am, it depends on. Somebody said, no, thank you. I appreciate your slide. Your slide is just meant to be a pointer, just like my slide, just something to help you remember what you're supposed to say. So that takes us back to you being prepared. If you're prepared, you should already know what you want to say under each point. So under O, you know what you want to say. You know the examples you want to give. Remember prep. You know your point, you know your reason, you know your example, and you know the point again. I don't know if I'm making sense. So you don't have to read from your presentation. Excuse me. So let's get back to O, opening. Your opening must be great. To begin with your opening, start with high energy. Start with high energy. High energy speakers create engaging audience. Low energy speakers create sleepy audience. They are tired, just want to sleep. There's the 10% rule. It says that your energy should be 10% higher than your audience's. That is the reason why you must ask yourself, what should I do differently if you're not the only speaker? So there's a particular energy the last speaker has placed them on already. So the moment you get there, you want to make sure that your energy is 10% higher than that of your audience. Very important. So you want to do something unexpected. Like nobody would expect that we would dance in the training. You want to ask them to exercise. You want to say something that would make them laugh. You just want to do something unexpected to release that energy again. So let's talk about opening. Immediately you have created that presence, that energy management. You have told them that the boss is here and worth listening to. The moment they see that you're confident, and especially when you're fashionable, people will be wowed. That few seconds, that few strategy you have used. You got on stage, you maintain eye contact with them. In fact, while you're working on stage, even if you don't smile, you're not the type that usually smile. Make it a point of duty to smile. Remind yourself. Once they call you Bukola, remember to smile. Smile from where you're seated until you get on stage, until you open your mouth to speak. Just keep smiling. Keep it real, please. When you smile, your audience will smile back at you. Maintain eye contact for a few seconds, and then you kickstart. Now to your opening. The objective of your Apologies, my network got disconnected. My Wi-Fi got disconnected. I apologize. I didn't even know on time. I've been speaking for a few minutes before I realized. I apologize for that. This was the last word you heard. Yes, I'm sorry. It's network. My Wi-Fi got disconnected. Apologies. So please, what was the last word you heard? Because I didn't get the signal on time. Let me share my slide again and let me confirm if it's still recording. Okay, it's still recording. Please, what was the last word you heard? If you can hear me now, what was the last word you heard before when I got kicked out? Or should I just start with opening again? So opening, I was saying that your content is divided into introduction, which is where you have the opening, body, where you're going to fully discuss why you're there, excuse me, and then the conclusion, which is where you conclude, you let us know you're done. So your opening, the major objective of your opening is to capture your audience, to give them reasons to listen to you. So there are different techniques that you can use to command attention, to let them know that, yes, you are worth listening to. Some of the common openings I hear is, thank you for having me, or sometimes you even say, I would like to appreciate my speaker. Please never start with such. Well, I'd like to appreciate the host. Why not appreciate them later? Whether you appreciate them at the beginning or not, they know they are appreciated. You still have other opportunities to appreciate them. So do not start by appreciating the person who had invited you, the host. Do not start by thanking them for having me. Don't say, some people will say things like, I am nervous, but I will try. Or I hope you can hear me, except it's an online engagement where, of course, you need to be sure that they can hear you. But many times that is not even part of your introduction. At the point where you're asking, can you hear me? Confirm if you can see and hear me. You haven't started at all. That is just like you prepping them. You have not started your main engagement. Or somebody will say, long introduction about myself. I am this, I am that. Why do we have the MCs? Most times the MCs would have read your profile. So if for any reason you need to correct the MC, maybe they had mispronounced your name, or they had said something that is not true, or they had left out maybe a recent achievement that you'd like your audience to know, then do that before you start your presentation at all. So do not start with these ones. Instead, start with a bold statement. Something like, everything you know about speaking right is wrong. Today, I will share with you the accurate things that you must start to do to help you speak better. If I was in the audience, I'd be like, everything I know is wrong. Okay, let's hear what he has to say now. I would not listen because I like you or something. I'll listen because I want to counter you at the end. Okay, let's hear what he has to say now. So if you're saying everything I know is already wrong, so let's hear, like the same Yoruba. What is new now that I've not heard before? You have captured my heart, even though you have not captured it in a positive note. But remember, the objective is to capture your audience's heart. Or you can start with a question. It could be a rhetoric question. A rhetoric question is a question that you do not need answers, but you want them to think about it. A thought-provoking question. You could say something like, if I were president today, and I start to sanction everyone who do not speak right, how would you feel? Or you could say, imagine me coming to your office for the role of a PA, and I sound like this. Good morning, sir. Please, I want to work as a PA in your office because of how I sound. Would you give me the role? Would you be proud to call me your PA? Ask a question, a thought-provoking question. You could also start with a story. 3 years ago, I used to be that person who couldn't communicate, who couldn't even open mouth amongst friends, not to talk of a stage like this. Here I am today. And this evening, I will be sharing with you the exact things I did that turned me from being a mumbler to a confident speaker. If you're a mumbler in the audience, in that room, you would give me your 100% attention. You could also start with a statistic. In the next 18 minutes, 27 people in this hall will be able to blah, 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 blah. Start with something powerful. Don't start with greeting. Don't start by telling them you are nervous or you're having sweaty hands, except it's a story. Don't start with long introduction of yourself. Go straight to the point. Hit the nail immediately. Capture their heart. Capture your audience. Start with a code. Start with statistics. Start with a thought-provoking statement or a thought-provoking question. Start with a bold statement. Start with a testimonial. Start with something unexpected, something that they might not have thought about before. But remember, anything you're starting with must align with your objective, with the point you're trying to share in your speech. Now let's get to the next, W, which is the wow factor. Before we go to the next, I have a task for you to do. In the chat, state one thing you'd like to talk about, anything at all, and just write an opening, any opening. It could be a bold statement, it could be a story. If it's a story, just start. Once upon a time, there was a boy, and you put the 3 dots, dot, dot, dot. It tells me that's something. There are more to be said. Start with a statistic. Start with a rhetoric question, anything. Let's quickly practice that. Write the topic you want to talk about first. I'm going to pick the first 3 answers I get to review them. Write the topic that you want to talk about first. The example I gave was around communication skill. So write whatever topic. If you are, I think I listened to Busayo's video. Busayo talks about justice, right? I also listened to a nurse that works in Cross River. I can't remember her name. So whatever you do, just speak any topic around it, something you're comfortable with. Write a topic for me first in the chat and just start. Give me an opening. It can be a bold statement, it can be a story, it can be a question, it can be statistic, it can be a code, it can be just peek around all the things I've mentioned. So let me go to the chart and see. Objectives of your opening. Okay, thank you. Opening, smiling before you start. Okay, I've stop that. Okay. Examination malpractice, Oluwabumi. Okay, so start. Give me an opening. Give me an opening. What opening would you start? So you want to talk about examination malpractice. If I want to talk about examination malpractice, I think I'll start with a story. Yes, I'll start with a story. In 2013, I graduated from the Polytechnic of Ibadan as a computer engineer. The last examination we sat, I had a friend. We called him Kabu in those days. Kabu, would I say is really my friend? No. Let me say a classmate. But I usually help him with engineering math because that was my strength. And it was shocking that he was caught with a piece of paper and things listed on it in his pocket. And that cost him all the effort he had put into having his HND certificate as a computer engineer. I can start with that. Everybody wants to listen to a story. So when I say in the year 2013, that tells them that I want to say a story. Their ears would naturally open because people love stories. You have already learned the power of storytelling. Japheth said, malaria is endemic in Nigeria. Okay, so what topic are you talking about, Japheth? Tokwe said about life. Okay, so if you're talking about life, what would your opening be? What would your opening be? The task is just write a topic you like to talk about and give me an opening, any opening. You can have different openings. Just give me one in the chat. I haven't seen any answer. All those ones I've seen, they are not really answering my question. The apology you'd never get will do very well. So what would your opening be if that is your topic? I want to believe the apology you never get is your topic. So what would your opening look like? What do you think is the first things you should say to help your audience want to listen? Okay, Ramatu says technology. What would your opening be? Just one person should answer me so I can proceed. What would your opening be? Okay, Bosaya, yes, injustice. And she said, the poor are constantly being oppressed. This is the time for a good change. Great. If I were you, I would say something like this. You and I, the woman in, what's this place in Lagos? Bosaya, do you live in Lagos? There's this place in Lagos that I went for volunteering those days where they live on water. Makoko. So I'll say something like, you and I, the woman in Makoko, the student in Ajegunle, are constantly being, instead of saying the poor are is not very, very, what's the word? It's not that deep. It's not that, it didn't carry so much weight. Something like that. So good, I'll proceed now. So after your opening, then you want to go to W, which is the wow factor. Give them something unexpected. Use surprise elements. You might want to use a counterintuitive fact. So an example of a counterintuitive fact that I can use on the communication skill would be like, do you know that the so-called great and mighty public speakers also feel fear in them anytime it's their turn to speak? I bet you don't know. A lot of people feel that public speaking or being a great public speaker is about you not having fear. No. Remember, courage is not the absence of fear. Blah, 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 blah. Give them something unexpected. Naturally, what I would expect you to say is, don't be scared of public speaking. But now you're telling them that even the best public speakers out there are scared of public speaking, but they're doing it regardless. So you're not telling them not to be scared of public speaking, but you're telling them to do it regardless of the fear. Do it afraid. I might talk about personal vulnerability. Maybe people already know you as a great nurse. You can start by telling them when you were not that great, when you were still learning. Perhaps in your first practical session, you fainted in the hall because you saw too much blood. Personal vulnerability. Let them know that you were not always like this as well. This was the journey. It could be interactive moments. Talk about a topic that is maybe common to everyone in the room. Like this evening when we started, I started by asking how mothers cope, though no one answered me. But because I believe that a lot of people here are women. So I started with an interactive moment. I wanted us to interact. I wanted to talk about something that is common to all of us. It could even be virtual surprises. Just wow them. Remember when I was explaining using the wow factor earlier, I said that ask what you can do differently. What can you do differently? So let's assume I want to give a presentation at work. Maybe I'm a banker and I know bankers do knowledge sharing, maybe every week or once a month. Or I want to give feedback about a certain project at work. Normally, everybody will start by saying, good day, ladies and gentlemen, blah, 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 blah. I can decide not to start with that and go straight into my opening and say, do you know that our last inspection at so place turned out to be a disaster? And here's what I found out. Then you make your presentation. Wow them. Wow them. Very important. Now my E in the framework, remember the framework again, power, P-O-W-E-R. Now we've got to E, eye contact and body language. A lot of people would look over heads of people. Please don't do that. Maintain eye contact instead. Now, while you're maintaining eye contact, do not look at a particular person for too long. They can find that embarrassing or make them uncomfortable. Just briefly move your eyes around the room. Divide the room into sections, the left side, the center part, the right part. Make eye contact with at least one person from each section for a few seconds, maybe 2 seconds, even 1 second. Maintain eye contact and use your body language purposefully. I had explained to you how to stand, where your hands should be when you're not using them. When it is time to use them, avoid clapping. Avoid throwing your hands everywhere. Use them only when needed. Maybe you're trying to use them to emphasize a point, or you're trying to use them to let you know how powerful what you're saying is, or how passionate you are about a particular thing you're saying. And the last letter in my framework is R, rhythm controller. Ladies and gentlemen, be the controller, be the conductor of your speaking engagement. Slow down for important points. Don't rush through them. Speed up when you're excited or when you're trying to say something in urgency. Pause for emphasis and impact. When you say something that is very important, before you say it, take short pause. When you're done saying it, take another short opportunity to let it sink. It also tells them how important it is. If it's very important, you can repeat the statement like twice. And for each repetition, use pause strategically. Pause can also help you to avoid using maybe when you're at a loss for word. Instead of saying just take a short pause. So let's assume I'm making a presentation about public speaking and I'm at a loss for word, about communication skill, and I'm at a loss for word. So I'll begin. Speaking is for everyone. However, instead of a lot of people to speak, they talk. Do you know that there is a difference between speaking and talking? According to the dictionary, talking is informal, which means no one is judging you. You're not impressing anyone. You're just putting words together, passing information without being conscious. A lot of people do that when they're amongst family, friends, etc. But what happens when you get to that office, when you get to that public space, when you need to tell people that I am capable, I am worth it, I can do better? You need to move from talking, my baby, to speaking. So let's assume I lost word there. You need to move. No, instead of doing you need to move. I don't need the You need to make your too long while you're trying to find your thoughts. You need to move instead of you need to no. Use pause strategically. You tune the last word. Stretch it. You need to move instead of you need to no. Use pause. Also whisper to make people lean in. T.M. Tosin talked about vocal variety. Vocal variety is just like when you're trying to change your voice to suit different occasions during your speech. There's some things that when you want to say them, you want to whisper. When you whisper, people would naturally lean in. They would lean in and listen more quietly. Unlike when you say they would lean in and listen more, whisper. It allows them lean in. It allows you to engage your audience. So while you're speaking, know when to slow down, know when to speed up, know when to use pauses, know when to whisper, know when to speak out loud. It depends on what you're saying. And for each of these, it has positive effect on your audience. And then I have action plan. But before I go to the action plan, I have a video that I would like us to watch together. And we're going to analyze what I've mentioned. Our focus will be on presence and body language. So this is a video of Steve Jobs on public speaking. We're going to watch. And as you watch, write what you have noticed among everything you have learned from week 1 to week 3. Write it in the chat and we'll have a conversation around it when we are done watching. But before we watch that, if you have questions, please ask. If you have questions about everything we have said, please ask. Somebody said public speaking. 1 month ago, I was that lady, okay? If you have questions, please ask. Please give me a few seconds to quickly pick my baby. Okay, if you have questions, please ask. If you have questions, please ask. Please, ma'am, you are breaking. Okay, please, ma'am, if you are using a projector while... Vivian, your question is not complete. Vivian, your question is not complete. You said if you're using a projector while doing what? Please ask your questions. If there are no questions, we'll go to watching the video. Please, now, where can we listen to audiobooks? Spotify. I use Spotify. You can download the Spotify app on your Play Store or Apple Store. It depends on your device. Spotify. It's a music app. But then it's not just music. They also have audiobooks around different topics. Any other question? Any question? You talked about energy and stress of words while speaking. Can you elaborate? I am mixing them up. Energy. Your energy is mainly how you show up. Were you smiling? Were you frowning? How were you talking? Were you talking and you're dragging your words like you're tired? It's a C. Now, when we talk about energy, it also depends on the kind of person you are. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? Most times, the extroverts have energies. They can jump high. They can jump. They can shout, etc. But then energy is not really about shouting. It is more about connecting with your audience, how you make them feel. So whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you can use positive energy by smiling. That is one way to use energy. Smiling. When you smile, your audience will naturally smile back. They will smile, right? So use energy. Smile. That is the first thing. Another is your movement, how you move, right? So the way you move would also determine the kind of energy your audience would have. So that is it about energy. Now, stressing words. I can't remember when I mentioned stressing words, but I think you're talking about slurring your words instead of stressing your words. Going, good morning, everyone. Today, no, why not talk smarter? Good morning, everyone. Even if you're an introvert. Good morning, everyone. Today, blah, 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 blah. Rakia says, is it compulsory to introduce ourselves? And when will that be? Now, it depends on the event. Most events where you're having public speaking, they would have introduced you. So let's assume you're in church and you want to maybe give testimonial. You want to talk about what you have experienced. Most times, the pastor will say something like, sister, something is coming to give our testimonial. They have already introduced you. Or let's talk, maybe it's a public event, maybe a conference or something. There would be an MC or someone who has already introduced you. So if they had introduced you, that's fine. Except during the introduction, they had misinformed the audience. Perhaps your name the name wasn't well pronounced, or there's something that they have missed out. And you would really like to emphasize that. Feel free to do that. You can do that before you start. So you can go this way. My name is, or for example, the MC introduced me as the elocution queen. No, I am not the elocution queen. I am the diction queen. So you have corrected that misinformation. Take a pause before you then start. My name is the diction queen, not the elocution queen. Speaking is different from talking. So did you see the pause I took? I didn't start immediately after saying I'm not the elocution queen, I'm the diction queen. Speaking is no. I took a pause. I kept quiet for a few seconds before I then start. Speaking is, so you can do that at the beginning. If it's not necessary, you can do that at the end. So when you have concluded your speech, you can then say, that reminds me, during my introduction earlier, I was called Agbaleye. No, it's not Agbaleye, it is Agbalaya. I am a proud Yoruba, Agbalaya, from Kwara State, blah, 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 blah. So your introduction can be at any point. Just do not mix it up with your speech. I hope that answers your question. Any other question? Please, ma'am, I don't know if you have answered my question. The network locked me out. Please, in case you're using a projector for a presentation, how are you going to stand out? What do you mean stand out? Using a presentation, using a projector doesn't prevent you from standing out. You're not reading from your projector. Your projector is just there as pointers, isn't it? So it doesn't affect you from standing out. Or maybe you're not asking the right question, Vivian. You can rephrase your question. Excuse me, what does AC mean? Modupe, your first question isn't clear. Also, can you recommend any podcasts that keep us updated, that would keep us updated? Around what topic? You know, podcasts has to do with different topics. On Spotify, there are different podcasts there as well. So it depends on the topic you're considering. Around what topic? Yeah, so a podcast on communication would not talk about, it won't talk about, let's say, legal matters. So it depends on the topic. You can also go on Google, search the topic and tell them to recommend podcasts for you. Or you can search them yourself on different platforms. I'm not following because of frequent breathing. What do you mean frequent breathing? Are you okay, Uto Hoa? Is that the name? Ma'am, if your bosses always call you to present or to take a meeting in a garden, what does that tell? It tells that you can do it. It tells that they are proud of you. They see others there, right? But they keep calling you. So it's because you're a good ambassador. They know you won't disappoint them. So you need to keep up to their expectation. Is it compulsory? I have attended to that already. Okay, I think I've attended to all the questions already. Please, ma'am, I don't know if you have attended to that as well. Is there any other question? I mean, the right place to stand on the stage. If I am to stand beside or at the center, okay, talking about standing at the center, it doesn't mean you have to be at the center throughout your presentation. No, you know, that was just when you're working on the stage. Once you start speaking, you need to start to move. So you could say that once I'm done with my introduction, I would have my introduction at the center of the stage. Once I'm done with my introduction and I get to my body, your body can have like 5 points or 4 points or 3, depends on you. For each point, I would move. When I want to talk about something important, I would go to the front of the stage so I can be closer to my audience. So you have to use your space well. You should not stand at a particular place throughout your event or throughout your speech, except you're using the lectern. And even when you're using the lectern, you're allowed to leave the lectern at some point. You're allowed to move. I hope that answers your question, Vivian. So if you're using a projector, if the projector is behind you, I believe you do not need the projector immediately you start. So another reason why you should get there early to be sure your projector is working perfectly. So that it is not when it is time for you to present, you start asking, is my projector ready? Okay. Is there any other question? You always say it's a C, so I want to know what it means. I always say it's a C. I really don't understand that question. A C, a C, a C. Can you put it in a statement? Maybe that would help me remember. Bodupe, how do I wow the audience? And how do I keep my hands when I'm not using them? Keep them beside you. Keep them in front of you. Keep them behind you. Just keep them somewhere. You don't have to move your hands every time. How do you wow your audience? You start wowing your audience from the point where you get on stage. So how you walk to the stage wows them. Your stance when you get on stage, wow them. Your confidence, don't rush your words, it wows them. Your content, what you're talking about, the way you present it, the way you use your words, wows them. Your diction wows them. Your conclusion, your story, the way you weave your words together, all of those wow your audience. So it's not a one cap fit all thing. What about in training, where I use my slide to train? Can I use public speaking strategy? Yes. A training is also a public speaking event. Yes. I do a lot of trainings as well. Yes. Yes. So before you start to teach, create connection. Before you start to teach, smile and then smile back. Create engagement before you go into your slide. And don't make your slide too busy. Because if your slide is too busy, your audience or the people you're training, all they would start doing is writing. And most times people don't go back to what they have even written. So instead, let them be present. Instead of just writing what you have on your slide, let them be present. Engage them. If you are called, you're welcome, Lami, to give an impromptu speech. Pay attention to the spelling of impromptu. In a topic you don't have much information, how do you handle it? Information is important. Information is important. But let's assume you do not have much information about it. One, impromptu speeches are not expected to be too long. So you want to manage your time and use shorter time. Secondly, you want to ask questions. Now, most times for impromptu speech, they do not expect you to keep talking and talking. Just be concise and make it as short as possible. So if you don't have much information, the piece of information you have, share that confidently. Another strategy you could use is to ask questions, engage the audience, seek the audience opinion. So if I'm talking about a topic that I do not really know, I can turn it into like a conversation. So instead of giving them the information, I would skip the information from them. And at the end, share my opinion. So there are different strategies you can use. First is you do not have to spend 5 minutes. If the information you have would only take 1 minute, fine. But instead of going straight to that information, ask question again. You might want to confirm by saying, maybe repeating the topic. After you've repeated the topic, if you have a story that can help, it doesn't have to always be facts and figures every time when we speak in public. Sometimes it could just be a story. It could be your own experience. It could be something you've read about, right? And afterwards, you can then ask the audience, engage the audience. And in conclusion, give your opinion. I hope that answers your question, Japhet rather. Any other? Okay, there are no other questions. So let's go to the video. Oh, I didn't have this as a link. Sorry, I was supposed to add it as a link. I didn't know I didn't have it as a link. So I'm trying to access the link. Oh, okay, let me just copy and paste on another slide. I'm trying to get the video. Loading. Shit, sorry. Okay, so let me share my sound so you can hear me. You can hear the video rather. Okay.
This program is brought to you by Stanford University. Please visit us at stanford.edu.
Please, can you hear the sound of the video? Please confirm if you can hear the sound of the video. Can you hear the sound of the video? It's right here with me. I'm carrying him. There's no one home. I'm the only one. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to play it again. So remember what you're doing. You want to take notes. Everything we have talked about tonight, you want to take note of it. What was its opening like? What was its presence like? Was there any wow factor in his speech? So what was the rhythm, the pace, his voice modulation? Just write it out. You can write it in the chat immediately, or you can write it somewhere, and we'll talk about it. We'll have a conversation around it when we are done. It's just 19 seconds. So please listen well. I would play it just twice. After now, I'll play it one more time, and then we start the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm honored to be with you today for your commencement from one of the finest universities in the world. Truth be told, I never graduated from college, and this is the closest I've ever gotten to a college graduation. Today, I want to tell you 3 stories from my life. That's it. No big deal. Just 3 stories. The first story is about connecting the dots. I dropped out of Reed College after the first 6 months, but then stayed around as a drop-in for another 18 months or so before I really quit. So why'd I drop out? It started before I was born. My biological mother was a young, unwed graduate student, and she decided to put me up for adoption. She felt very strongly that I should be adopted by college graduates, so everything was all set for me to be adopted at birth by a lawyer and his wife. Except that when I popped out, they decided at the last minute that they really wanted a girl. So my parents, who were on a waiting list, got a call in the middle of the night asking, "We've got an unexpected baby boy. Do you want him?" They said, "Of course." My biological mother found out later that my mother had never graduated from college and that my father had never graduated from high school. She refused to sign the final adoption papers. She only relented a few months later when my parents promised that I would go to college. This was the start in my life. And 17 years later, I did go to college. But I naively chose a college that was almost as expensive as Stanford. And all of my working class parents' savings were being spent on my college tuition. After 6 months, I couldn't see the value in it. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and no idea how college was going to help me figure it out. And here I was, spending all of the money my parents had saved their entire life. So I decided to drop out and trust that it would all work out okay. It was pretty scary at the time, but looking back, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. The minute I dropped out, I could stop taking the required classes that didn't interest me and begin dropping in on the ones that looked far more interesting. It wasn't all romantic. I didn't have a dorm room, so I slept on the floor in friends' rooms. I returned Coke bottles for the 5-cent deposits to buy food with. And I would walk the 7 miles across town every Sunday night to get one good meal a week at the Hare Krishna temple. I loved it. And much of what I stumbled into by following my curiosity and intuition turned out to be priceless later on. Let me give you one example. Reed College at that time offered perhaps the best calligraphy instruction in the country. Throughout the campus, every poster, every label on every drawer was beautifully hand calligraphed. Because I had dropped out and didn't have to take the normal classes, I decided to take a calligraphy class to learn how to do this. I learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, about varying the amount of space between different letter combinations, about what makes great typography great. It was beautiful, historical, artistically subtle in a way that science can't capture, and I found it fascinating. None of this had even a hope of any practical application in my life. But 10 years later, when we were designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came back to me. And we designed it all into the Mac. It was the first computer with beautiful typography. If I had never dropped in on that single course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts. And since Windows just copied the Mac, it's likely that no personal computer would have them. If I had never dropped out, I would have never dropped in on that calligraphy class, and personal computers might not have the wonderful typography that they do. Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference. My second story is about love and loss. I was lucky. I found what I loved to do early in life. Woz and I started Apple in my parents' garage when I was 20. We worked hard, and in 10 years, Apple had grown from just the two of us in a garage into a $2 billion company with over 4,000 employees. We just released our finest creation, the Macintosh, a year earlier, and I just turned 30. And then I got fired. How can you get fired from a company you started? Well, as Apple grew, we hired someone who I thought was very talented to run the company with me. And for the first year or so, things went well. But then our visions of the future began to diverge, and eventually we had a falling out. When we did, our board of directors sided with him. And so at 30, I was out, and very publicly out. What had been the focus of my entire adult life was gone, and it was devastating. I really didn't know what to do for a few months. I felt that I had let the previous generation of entrepreneurs down, that I had dropped the baton as it was being passed to me. I met with David Packard and Bob Noyce and tried to apologize for screwing up so badly. I was a very public failure, and I even thought about running away from the Valley. But something slowly began to dawn on me. I still loved what I did. The turn of events at Apple had not changed that one bit. I'd been rejected, but I was still in love. And so I decided to start over. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about everything. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. During the next 5 years, I started a company named Next, another company named Pixar, and fell in love with an amazing woman who would become my wife. Pixar went on to create the world's first computer animated feature film, Toy Story, and is now the most successful animation studio in the world. In a remarkable turn of events, Apple bought Next, and I returned to Apple, and the technology we developed at Next is at the heart of Apple's current renaissance. And Lorene and I have a wonderful family together. I'm pretty sure none of this would have happened if I hadn't been fired from Apple. It was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it. Sometimes life's going to hit you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love, and that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking and don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. And like any great relationship, it just gets better and better as the years roll on. So keep looking, don't settle. Death. When I was 17, I read a quote that went something like, "If you live each day as if it was your last, someday you'll most certainly be right." It made an impression on me, and since then, for the past 33 years, I have looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart. About a year ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. I had a scan at 7:30 in the morning, and it clearly showed a tumor on my pancreas. I didn't even know what a pancreas was. The doctors told me this was almost certainly a type of cancer that is incurable, and that I should expect to live no longer than 3 to 6 months. My doctor advised me to go home and get my affairs in order, which is doctor's code for prepare to die. It means to try and tell your kids everything you thought you'd have the next 10 years to tell them in just a few months. It means to make sure everything is buttoned up so that it will be as easy as possible for your family. It means to say your goodbyes. I live with that diagnosis all day. Later that evening, I stuck an endoscope down my throat, through my stomach and into my intestines, put a needle into my pancreas and got a few cells from the tumor. I was sedated, but my wife, who was there, told me that when they viewed the cells under a microscope, the doctor started crying because it turned out to be a very rare form of pancreatic cancer that is curable with surgery. I had the Having lived through it, I can now intellectual concept. No one wants to die. Even people who want to go to heaven don't want to die. And yet, death is the destiny. It clears out the old to make way for the new. Right now, the new is you. But someday, not too long from now, you will. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. When I was young, there was an amazing publication called the Whole Earth Catalog, which was one of the Bibles of my generation. It was created by a fellow named Stuart Brand, not far from here in Menlo Park, and he brought it to life with his poetic touch. This was in the late 60s, before personal computers and desktop publishing, so it was all made with typewriters, scissors, and Polaroid cameras. It was sort of like Google in paperback form 35 years before Google came along. It was idealistic, overflowing with neat tools and great notions. Stuart and his team put out several issues of the Whole Earth Catalog, and then, when it had run its course, they put out a final issue. It was the mid-1970s, and I was your age. On the back cover of their final issue was a photograph of an early morning country road, the kind you might find yourself hitchhiking on if you were so adventurous. Beneath it were the words, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." It was their farewell message as they signed off. Stay hungry, stay foolish. And I have always wished that for myself. And now, as you graduate to begin anew, I wish that for you. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Thank you all very much.
Okay, so tell me, do we have to watch it one more time? Haven't seen anyone's answer in here. Do we have to watch the video one more time? I expected you to have been listing out what he did. This is one of the great public speaking events Steve Jobs have attended. So I expected you to start listing out what he did well, what he didn't do well, or your own opinion in the chat already. I wonder why I've not seen anyone. Should we watch the video one more time? Somebody said no, ma'am. Okay, so please tell me. I love his conclusion. Okay, what do you love about his conclusion, Akari? What do you love about his conclusion? Any other person? What do you love about his conclusion? At the beginning, did you realize how he started? Did you realize the pause? They were clapping and he said, thank you, right? He appreciated them and took a pause before starting at all. What about his opening? What do you think about his opening? Was it powerful enough? Akari says it was quite encouraging. Okay, please, I can't hear you, ma'am. Mujida, you can't hear me. Maybe you didn't join with your audio. Please check your audio so you can hear me. I believe I am loud and clear. He was reading his personal story of the book on notes. Can we do that? I recommend you do not do that. Now, why was he reading? Because it is more like a valedictory speech. Most times for public speaking, if it's not a speech, the part of your personal story you're not supposed to read. Another thing about this is, I want to believe it wasn't the one who wrote it. people of this caliber, they would have it transcribed. People do the job of transcription. I also do the job of transcription. Let's assume you want to write a book or you want to write a speech or something, and you don't have that time to write. All you have to do is do a voice note of it, send it to someone to write on your behalf. So I want to believe that's what he's reading. Amati says, stay hungry, stay foolish. And what are you referring to? Japheth said he used the story of his life to motivate his audience. Very personally, yes. Not just one story, 3 stories. That takes you back to the power of storytelling. Any other feedback? So please do not read your own personal story from the book. That's why I said you should tell me what he did right and what he didn't do right. I love the suspense it created. I didn't know that was where it was heading to at first. So I love that as well, suspense. Can you see? So he started from like beginning of his life until what seemed to be the end of his life. Isn't it? I love that too, Modupe. Any other person? Any other person? Any other person? Okay. So in the absence of more questions, let's continue, because one of the characteristics of a great public speaker is to always keep to time. So we're supposed to end at exactly 9:12. So we have less than 4 minutes to go. Eye contact is perfect, yes. 3 stories, are they not too much? No, they are not too much. When you move to your body, you can have a story. You can begin your public speaking with a story. When you get to your body, you can share another story. In your conclusion, you can share another story. The only time we can say the stories are too much is when you have started talking about stories that do not have anything to do with your speech or what you're talking about. But if they still have a lot to do, if they align with your speech, then it's not too much. Okay, so let's quickly get back to my slide so we can conclude. So we have action plan. The first action plan is you need to master your entrance and presence. Second thing you need to do is to practice 5 different opening techniques. I mentioned some of the opening techniques already. Using storytelling, asking a rhetorical question or thought-provoking question, using statistic, using a code. Excuse me. So you're asked to practice 5 different openings. So pick a particular topic and use 5 different openings for that topic, just one topic, and you're trying 5 different openings for one topic. Then you also have to develop your wow factor for that same topic and perfect your eye contact and rhythm. So this is your assignment. Pick a topic, any topic you're comfortable with. So you do a video of yourself coming in like you're getting on stage. You show your presence. Then you practice 5 different openings. So in your notes, write 5 different openings for that particular topic. But in your video, just pick one, pick one opening. So you're presenting with just one opening. Then use a wow factor in your speech as well. And while you're presenting, make sure to maintain eye contact and use appropriate rhythm. So if I were you, the first thing I would do is to pick a topic, outline as you have been taught. While you're outlining, practice using 5 different topics. So if I'm talking about public speak, if I'm talking about communication skill, I can write a story, write a thought-provoking question, write a quote, etc. 5 of them. Then I want to decide on which one am I picking. So those 5 ones you have written, you send a picture of it to the group. Then you choose just one out of those 5 different openings you have chosen, you have written. Then also develop your wow factor. Then you make the presentation. You video yourself making the presentation. I want to see your entrance. I want to see your presence. One opening, use one opening technique. I want to see your wow factor and make sure you maintain eye contact using appropriate body language, and make sure your rhythm is on point. So do we have questions about everything we have learned tonight? Do we have any other question about what we have learned tonight? A stories target the right audience. Yes. Yes. TMT, I already mentioned, know your audience. Know your audience. So your story targeted them. Yes, you're correct, Lami. Do we have any other questions about the assignment or question? Please make sure you submit your question, your presentation latest by Saturday, so that you can get feedback before the next class. And in the WhatsApp group, I will be sending content to the WhatsApp group daily around public speaking, so that we can cover every aspect of public speaking before the end of the class. Do we have any question? Any question at all? We're behind schedule. Are we selecting 5 topics? No, 1 topic. Let's assume you have chosen a topic on parenting. Now that same topic, write different opening techniques. The first technique might be to ask a rhetoric question. As a child, what was that one skill that your parent lacked that you would always not like about their parenting style? That is one opening technique. Still under parenting, another opening technique. It is said that about 35% of parents in the world are parenting wrongly. That is statistic. I can use another technique, maybe a quote. Still on one topic. I hope that understands, that explains the question. The question is, pick a topic. Write 5 opening techniques in a book that you would use for that topic. Send that to the group. Then make a video. When you were making the video, start by recording yourself from how you walked on the stage, walk into the stage, and use only one opening from the 5 ones you have written. Just pick any one that you're comfortable with out of the 5 ones you've written. Then during your speech, make sure you use a wow factor. Do something differently, something extraordinary. Make sure to maintain eye contact and use appropriate rhythm. I hope the question is clear now. So all you're doing is you're making a video of yourself talking about a particular topic. But record yourself from how you walked on the stage. Assume that you're presenting on the stage. So record yourself from how you walked on the stage, then make the presentation. The second assignment is write out 5 different opening techniques that you can use for that same topic you had presented. I hope that is clear. What is a rhetoric question? Rhetoric is spelled R-H-E-T-O-R-I-C. Rhetoric question is a question that you do not expect answers to. You don't expect your audience to answer you. Any other question? Of course, the assignments will be sent to the group. Do we have any other question? Any other question? Okay. In the absence of question, I would end the session. Thank you for attending, and make sure you submit your assignments. I would send the assignment question to the group again, as well as the replay. Remember, public speaking is an opportunity to showcase what you have, to shine your light. Stop seeing it as a death trap. Also, all good public speakers are doing it afraid. So instead of denying yourself of the privilege, please do it afraid. The more you do it, the better you become. I have a checklist of things that you must do to have a great public speaking event. You get that during the week as well. I also have other materials that I will be sharing with you. Please, when it comes to communication generally, It is not about learning. Learning is important, of course, but it is more about practicing. So everything you have learned, please practice. Start little. If you're interested in knowing about Toastmasters, you can let me know. I can send a few things about it to the group and how to join. You can join other clubs as well. There are lots of clubs you can join out there. If you're a Christian, if you're a Muslim, volunteer to talk or speak in your worship place. Volunteer to talk or speak at work. Start doing it. Start small. Start small. The more you do it, the better you become. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful night. Okay, I have 3 messages in the chat. Thank you very much, ma'am. Regards to your baby and husband. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ramatu. Please, I'm yet to get feedback from my assignment 1. Where is the assignment 1? One of your assignments have been attended to. I think that's the only one you submitted and has been ascended to. Please check the group. Thank you, Taiwo. Thank you, Vivian. Is it advisable to jot some points on a note when presenting? When the I don't understand. Yes, there's something called Notepad. Yes. You can have sticky notes and write 1 or 2 things. It's part of the mind mapping process. Yes, you're allowed, whether you're using a presentation slide or not. Yes, you can have pointers in your notes, but you cannot read from your note. But you can just have pointers, something that helps you remember. Yes, you can do that. I'm enjoying the training. Thank you, ma'am. I enjoyed the class. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very much as well. I appreciate you. And remember, as you're enjoying the training, make sure you practice. The rate of video assignments submitted is not encouraging. I think there are about maybe 80-something people. The videos submitted, I don't know. I think it's about the first lesson, about 12 people submitted their task. The second lesson, I'm not sure. I've not counted. So please practice, submit your videos. It's important. Okay, have a wonderful night rest, everyone. Have a great week. I look forward to seeing you next week. And of course, during the week, we will be learning 1 or 2 things as well in the group. I appreciate everyone. Thank you. My regards to your family and have a wonderful night rest. Bye-bye.